Can you believe it? Just because a single fruit ripened and fell to the ground, all life within 100 miles withered instantly, even the fish in the river floated belly up? Toriko, a foodie, knew that the smellier the food, the more delicious it was. So he dragged Komatsu onto the train. As they approached the station, all the passengers went crazy, urging each other to quickly close the windows. The moment they got off, the train sped away. The air was filled with a deadly stench, the entire space seemed lifeless. Komatsu dared not open his nose. The further they went, the stronger the stench became. When they were 100 kilometers away from the durian, Komatsu started to worry that he would really be suffocated by the stench. Toriko, however, said that since it smelled so bad, it must taste delicious. Komatsu was curious. Toriko's sense of smell was 10,000 times stronger than an average person's. Why wasn't he affected? Well, that's a matter of perspective. Toriko explained that you should have gratitude for all foods. If you accept them from the heart, the smell won't be there. Komatsu immediately understood. With gratitude for the durian, he cheered up again, and the two happily continued walking, their expressions growing increasingly cheerful. Suddenly, he confessed that he couldn't keep up the act anymore, and immediately, he pulled out his gas mask to save his life, but Toriko quickly stopped him. Legend had it that someone wearing a protective suit had successfully approached the stinky durian, but the durian, feeling rejected, committed suicide and melted away. Matsu, we can't give up halfway. Matsu gritted his teeth, almost grinding them to powder, and shoved the gas mask back in. The two continued deeper, until dusk. They were starving, with no appetite in this environment, but they still wanted to eat something to replenish their strength. They discovered they were overthinking it. The food had been reduced to ashes by the durian stench. Although hungry, the two knew they had already done their best. They were nearing their target, so they had no choice but to keep going. The stench around them grew increasingly terrifying. Every breath they took felt like being shoved with tens of thousands of bouncy balls of meat. Just when Komatsu thought he was about to be suffocated by the stench, they finally found the giant durian. Thanks to their incredible luck, the durian was perfectly ripe. Looking at the teetering fruit, Toriko cried to Komatsu, "Matsu, we might not survive." Then, amidst their desperate wails, the giant durian crashed to the ground. Within 100 miles, all vegetation withered instantly, and even the small fish in the river perished. At that moment, everyone in the world, everyone felt the unparalleled stench. Those with high strength could barely withstand it, but some lowly trash simply died instantly. The two at the epicenter of the stench were lying on the ground, delirious from the stench. They would wake up only to faint again, then be woken up by the stench once more. This cycle repeated until, after a month, they finally adapted to the stench and returned to the modern city from this foul hell. However, as soon as they entered the hotel, the guests were driven away by the stench. Sani, who was dining at the hotel, had barely uttered a word of praise when he was instantly knocked unconscious by the stench emanating from the two. They hadn't expected that after a month, both of them, they'd been pickled in the stinky durian. Eating the durian fruit would cleanse them of the stench. The two wept with joy. They were finally no longer smelly. Since they didn't have enough ingredients for sushi, they continued their search for divination ingredients. Suddenly, a drunken shark swept overhead, splashing water that turned out to be white wine. This ocean was a sea of wine, whiskey, beer, and shochu. Their destination was the island of wine hegemony before them. The ingredients they needed to catch this time. It was the Vinegar King, fermented from various high-grade liquors. The two had barely arrived on the island when they encountered a drunken bull. Arrow, without hesitation, delivered a swift chop, instantly turning the bull into a fragrant roasted meat. This place was practically a drunkard's paradise. Amber-colored fountains of brandy, golden waterfalls of beer, even the rain seemed like incredibly delicious vodka. Just as the two were lost in their drunken revelry, suddenly, a giant emerald dragon appeared before them. This was a dinosaur that loved to drink, with a terrible temper, especially when intoxicated. Even Toriko might not be able to defeat it. Just as Komatsu was saying he wanted to go home, a voice called from the monster's back. It was none other than Jiro, the pressure point master. Jiro then invited the two to take a bath in the emerald wine. Any bottle of this wine, even a random one, would be a prized possession in the collections of billionaires. But here, the wine became their bathwater. The three drank from day to night, getting increasingly intoxicated, forgetting their original purpose. 2 days later, Toriko returned with the Vinegar King, but they still didn't have enough ingredients. Next, they had to go and capture the last divination ingredient, the organic seaweed growing on the turtle's back.